You have no idea what I did in the end. But let me tell you how the woman I loved more than life itself destroyed me, framed me, and left me to rot behind bars. Also, she could live it up in my house with my best friend. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I waited. And when I came back, I took everything from her. Quietly. Perfectly. And oh yeah, painfully. I was on my way home from the grocery store, beer in the back seat, steaks for the grill, and a new set of tools I'd been eyeing for months. It was supposed to be a chill Saturday. Football, barbecue, and maybe falling asleep on the couch with my wife curled up next to me. That version of my life lasted right up until the flashing red and blue lights pulled up behind me. License and registration, the officer said. Routine stuff, I thought. I wasn't speeding. Everything was in order. I handed over the documents, smiled, tried to be polite. Then he asked me to step out of the vehicle. Said they got an anonymous tip about someone transporting drugs matching my truck's description. I laughed. It sounded insane. I mean me? I work construction. I pay taxes. I donate blood when I can. But 10 minutes later, I was in handcuffs, watching them unzip a black duffel bag in the bed of my truck, full of crystal meth. I nearly threw up on the spot. I kept saying it wasn't mine, over and over again, but you know how that sounds to them. Every guilty guy says the same thing. At the station, I begged to talk to my wife. She picked up the phone in tears, saying she didn't understand what was going on, that she'd find a lawyer, that she loved me. I clung to those words for the next 24 hours, like they were the only thing keeping me breathing. The next day, my lawyer walked into the holding cell and looked me in the eye. She testified against you. I didn't understand. Who? Your wife, he said. She told them you've been acting strange. Coming home with cash you couldn't explain. That you were irritable. Secretive. My heart stopped. I asked to see the statement. There it was, in her handwriting, signed and dated. That's when it hit me. I'd been set up. And not by some random stranger. By the woman who promised to love me till death. And as I'd soon find out, she had help. Within weeks, I was formally charged with possession and intent to distribute. The judge handed me 3 years minimum, no parole for the first 12 months. I walked into prison as a felon and left behind everything I'd built. My house, my business, my wife, or so I thought. About 2 months into my sentence, the letters stopped coming. She ghosted my calls, didn't visit. Then one day, my brother sent me a photo from Facebook. There she was, on a boat, in a bikini, smiling like she hadn't just sold me out. Wrapped around her, my best friend, Travis, the same guy who was the best man at our wedding, the guy who cried when my daughter was born, the guy I helped get back on his feet after his divorce. And now he was drinking champagne on the deck of my damn boat with my wife. That night in my cell, I stopped being sad, because the sadness turned into something colder, sharper, focused. I didn't know how yet, but I was going to come back. Not with fists, not with fire, with silence, with strategy. And when I made my move, trust me, you have no idea what I did in the end. I walked into prison thinking the truth would save me. It didn't. Nobody in there gave a damn if I was innocent. The guards, the other inmates, to them, I was just another junkie who got caught. Another number. Another fool who didn't know how to keep his head down. So that's what I did. I shut up and observed. At first, I was just trying to survive. But then, something changed. It started with a guy named Darnell, ex-electrician. We were in the same work crew, cleaning pipes in the old boiler tunnels under the East Wing. He was quiet, sharp, and didn't mess around. One day, after lunch, he leaned over and asked, "You were that white guy on the news, right? Caught with a truckload of crank?" I nodded. "Yeah. Set up." He raised an eyebrow. "Everyone says that. I've got no record. Never touched the stuff." My wife turned on me out of nowhere. It was too clean. Too easy. He stared at me for a second, then said something that stuck with me for the rest of my time inside. Sometimes it's not about what you did. It's about what someone needs you gone for. That night, I couldn't sleep. I replayed every argument, every quiet moment, every time my wife acted distant, distracted. The calls she'd take in the garage, the texts she'd smile at and hide. And then it hit me like a sledgehammer. Travis. He'd been around a lot. Too much. Always helping with our kitchen renovation. Always offering advice on my business. Always finding a reason to stop by when I wasn't home. They didn't just leave me behind. They removed me, on purpose. But I still had no proof. No way to scream my truth. So I stopped trying to scream. I listened. I read. I studied. I watched. Every inmate in that place had a story, but more importantly, they had skills. One guy used to be a CPA, taught me how to track assets, hide money, trace shell companies. Another guy ran cons on real estate scams, taught me how to read contracts, how to bury clauses deep in the fine print. I wasn't making friends. I was building a toolkit. And I was building me. I started working out daily. Not to get big, but to get focused. I got lean. My mind cleared. I stopped thinking like a victim and started thinking like a planner. I wrote down everything I remembered: names, phone numbers, addresses, even old login details I had memorized. I wrote like a madman every night. Pages of it. Like a war journal. I didn't want revenge through violence. No, I wanted something they'd never expect. Precision. They thought I'd rot in there. That I'd come out broken. Worthless. Silent. But what I was building was silence with purpose. When I finally got the news, parole granted, early release for good behavior, I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just nodded. They handed me a plastic bag with my old wallet, my cracked phone, and $50 in cash. But what they really handed me? A green light. I walked out of that gate with nothing in my name, but more power than I'd ever had. Because now, I wasn't in prison. They were. They just didn't know it yet. You ever walk into a world that used to be yours and realize it doesn't recognize you anymore? That's what it felt like when I stepped outside those prison gates. The sky was too bright. The air too loud. My clothes didn't fit the same. My hometown, the one I used to know like the back of my hand, felt like a stranger. It had moved on. And so had everyone in it. And no one was waiting for me. No ride. No welcome home. Just me, a duffel bag with my old clothes, and a bus pass back to a place I no longer belonged. The first thing I did? I left. Didn't even stop by my old house. Didn't check in on my kids. Not yet. That part hurt more than anything, but I had to be smart. I had to be strategic. Because in their eyes, I was still that guy on the news, the convict, the drug trafficker, the disgrace. But that was fine. That label, it became my shield. I cashed my $50 at a gas station, bought a burner phone, and headed west, to a town where no one knew my name. I found a room above a mechanic's garage, paid cash weekly, and kept to myself. I was a ghost with a plan. Step 1, disappear. Step 2, rebuild. I spent the first few weeks doing nothing but research. I found Travis business listings, my ex-wife's new salon, their Instagram perfect life, champagne brunches, power couple hashtags, photos in front of my old house with my old grill. It was infuriating, but I didn't let it get to me. Not outwardly. Inside, I was memorizing dates, tags, business partners, clients, where they went, who they talked to, what they bragged about. Every post they made was a crack in the wall they thought was solid. Then came phase 2, the new me. I created a new name. Legally, too. Took a lawyer, some paperwork, and a little help from a guy I met inside. Cost me most of what I had, but it was worth it. Because now, I didn't just vanish. I was reborn. Under this new identity, I built a fake but impressive digital footprint. LinkedIn, Instagram, a business profile, even some fake press. I was now a low-key venture consultant, the kind who knew people who knew people. It wasn't a total lie. I didn't know people. Ex-cons with MBA brains. Accountants who used to launder for the mob. Guys who could make shell companies pop up and disappear like smoke. I wasn't planning to get violent. I wasn't going to break the law, but I was going to play dirty within the system. One night, I sat in the dark with a notebook on my lap and drew 3 columns. What they took, what they still had, how to destroy it all without ever stepping in a courtroom. And at the top of the page, in all caps, I wrote, they need to lose everything. But first, trust. That was the key. If I came at them swinging, they'd see it coming. But if I came in as someone else, offered them opportunity, friendship, money, they'd open the door themselves. And when they did, I'd burn their whole kingdom down from the inside. People think revenge is about rage. It's not. Real revenge? It's math. Cold. Clean. Time to perfection. And it doesn't start with confrontation. It starts with control. My first step was simple. Find a way in. Not into their house. Not into their lives. Into their money. I learned a long time ago, you want to hurt someone like them? Don't throw punches. Hit their wallets. Hit their ego. Hit their image. So I started tracking everything. My ex-wife's new salon. Let's just say it wasn't doing as well as her Instagram made it look. All fluff. Bought followers, fake reviews, staged photo shoots. But the expenses? Very real. And Travis? He'd started consulting on crypto investments. I did some digging, found 3 shell LLCs registered under his name. None of them had real income. He was living on credit and clout. Flashy car, rented office, private clients. But behind the curtain? Smoke and mirrors. I saw an opportunity. I contacted a woman named Erin, someone Travis had screwed over years ago. She used to date him when they were young, and he stole thousands from her during some real estate scam. She never got justice. But she remembered him. Oh, she remembered. When I told her who I was, not my fake name, my real one, and what he and my wife had done, she said 4 words that gave me chills. Let's burn them both. So we built a trap. Under her name, we created a new LLC, Aspen Ridge Capital. We made it look legit. Website, business cards, office address, a co-working space we rented for show. It looked like a boutique investment firm targeting high-growth local businesses. And guess what? My ex's salon fit the profile perfectly. I had Erin discover the salon, reach out as a potential investor. She played the role perfectly, professional, curious, full of compliments. She offered a meeting. They bit hard. Within a week, they were sitting across from Erin at a marble-top table in a fake office, pitching their vision like they were building the next Sephora. I watched the whole thing through a discreet camera feed. They had no idea they were being recorded. They had no idea that every word, every exaggeration, every false financial claim was being cataloged, especially when they agreed to initial funding, $75,000, to be delivered after a due diligence period. We weren't giving them a dime. This was bait. The moment they submitted their financials for review, we had everything. Bank statements, tax returns, proof of fraud, evidence of money laundering. They were sloppy, arrogant. They thought no one would ever question them. They didn't know I was the one holding the microscope. That night, I poured myself a glass of cheap whiskey and looked over their entire financial history. There it was, in black and white. Fake invoices, duplicate payroll entries, loans taken out under my name while I was in prison. They were still stealing from me. But now I had them by the throat. And they didn't even know they were choking yet. The funny thing about liars? They get lazy. Once they fool enough people, especially each other, they start believing their own bullshit. They forget to look over their shoulders. They stop double-checking the locks. That's when I strike. Erin and I had their financials now. Enough evidence to get the IRS crawling up their backs and half the county whispering about fraud. But I wasn't ready to go public. Not yet. No, I wanted to watch them fall first. From the inside out. So we added pressure, slowly. Erin sent a second message. Our compliance team flagged a few issues. Nothing major. Just need clarification before we move forward. Their response? Immediate. Nervous. Rambling. They were scared. Travis tried to sound cool. We're just a little disorganized, that's all. But the subtext was clear. They knew they screwed up. So we turned the screw a little more. Erin scheduled another meeting. This time, I was there too. Not as myself, obviously, but as Reed, the firm's risk advisor. Glasses, tailored suit, deep voice, quiet confidence. I shook their hands and smiled like a shark. They didn't recognize me. Not behind the beard. Not behind the name. And that made it all the more satisfying. They pitched again, a little more desperate this time. I asked questions I already knew the answers to, watching them squirm under the pressure. Travis lied. Again. My ex. She stayed quiet, eyes darting. She looked exhausted. Pale. Like she hadn't slept in weeks. Good. When the meeting ended, Erin said we'd get back to them soon. But we already knew the answer. Behind the scenes, I started leaking pieces of what we'd found. Not publicly, no. That would be too fast, too loud. Instead, we targeted their foundation. I sent anonymous packages to some of their key vendors, copies of unpaid invoices, forged tax forms. No threats. Just facts. Some pulled out of deals. Others froze contracts. I tipped off a local business columnist under another alias. Gave him a source, suggesting the salon might be laundering cash. He didn't publish anything yet, but he started asking questions. The pressure started showing. A week later, my brother, who still lived in town, told me he saw Travis screaming into his phone in the parking lot outside the salon. Red-faced, sweating, pacing like a caged animal. A day after that, Aaron got a text. From my ex, do you think we're being investigated? Boom. Paranoia had arrived. That's when I knew they were cracking. All it would take now was time. Time for them to keep making mistakes. Time for them to self-destruct. And the best part? They were still smiling on social media. Still posting those fake motivational quotes. Still pretending everything was perfect. While bleeding out slowly from wounds they couldn't see. It started small. A comment here. A cold stare there. An invitation that mysteriously got lost in the mail. My ex and Travis didn't realize it yet, but the people around them were already pulling away. Quietly, subtly, like rats leaving a ship that hadn't even started sinking, but somehow smelled like smoke. I fed that fire. Every few days, I'd send out another anonymous tip. A fake invoice. A redacted financial statement. A screenshot of a forged signature. Sometimes to a journalist. Sometimes to a competitor. Sometimes just to someone who used to trust them. No one had enough to go public yet, but the seeds were planted. Whispers started. Isn't that salon under investigation? I heard Travis' crypto thing is a scam. You know he used to be friends with that guy who went to prison. That part always stung. I was still that guy. Still the one wearing the label. Even if I wasn't the one who deserved it. But I let that go. Because every time they had to explain, defend, justify, they cracked a little more. Travis tried to fix it, of course. Posted a video from his Audi, sunglasses on, trying to set the record straight. Said the rumors were lies. That jealous people were out to sabotage him. He turned off comments 2 hours later. The video disappeared the next morning. Then the bank started calling. I know because Aaron, who was still playing investor, got a voicemail meant for them, accidentally forwarded from a shared email inbox. Hi, this is Melissa from First Union. We noticed some discrepancies with the line of credit tied to your collateral. We'd appreciate a response by the end of the week. Translation, they were over-leveraged. Deep. That same week, one of their vendors filed a formal complaint for breach of contract. Aaron leaked it, anonymously, of course, to the same business reporter she'd been feeding for weeks. This time he published. The headline wasn't explosive, but it didn't have to be. Local business faces legal questions amid financial dispute. One article. That's all it took. The comments exploded. Former clients chimed in. Ex-employees. Even a couple of anonymous reviews started popping up, accusing the salon of shady practices and bounce paychecks. They weren't convicted of anything. But that didn't matter. In the court of public opinion, they were guilty. My ex posted a clarification. Something about disgruntled former staff and jealous competitors. It had the energy of a drowning influencer begging for likes. That night, Travis went quiet online. For the first time in months, no posts, no stories, no flashy watch photos or gym mirror selfies. He was spiraling, and I was just getting started. Because the real storm hadn't even landed yet. You can fake a smile. You can edit your life online. But you can't filter a subpoena. That was the moment everything started coming apart. Not just in the background, but in their faces. In the real world. The part you can't Photoshop. The salon got served. A formal notice. Civil litigation. One of the vendors I'd anonymously tipped? Turns out they had enough, and enough receipts, to take it legal. Missed payments, breached contracts, forged authorizations. It wasn't criminal yet, but it was loud. And now it was public. Their landlord got spooked. They received notice of lease termination, 60 days to vacate unless they cleared all back rent and proved financial stability. They couldn't, and they knew it. My ex posted some cryptic, taking time for self-care message on Instagram, then deactivated her account 2 hours later. Travis. He went nuclear. He started emailing clients and investors, begging for support, ranting about being targeted. He blamed haters, the system, cancel culture. But there was no real enemy to point at, just shadows. Just me. The best part? They still didn't know it was me. But that wouldn't last much longer. Because the pressure had turned to panic, and panic always exposes weakness. Aaron called me one night, trying not to laugh. They're offering me equity now. A percentage of the business. Anything to keep me in. Desperation. They were drowning, and reaching for any hand they could find. So I gave them one. We created a fake bridge loan agreement. Complex, legal-looking, just enough strings attached to tie them in a knot. Aaron signed it, sent it back. They thought it was salvation. In reality, they just handed us access to everything. Now I had their payroll logs, vendor lists, internal memos, emails between my ex and Travis that made it very clear they had coordinated my setup. Jokes about my arrest. Trash talk about how easy it was to make me look guilty. I read every line. Slowly, coldly. Not to cry, not to scream, to remember. I took screenshots, copied everything, had Aaron forward it to a private email server I controlled, encrypted and backed up in 3 locations. Now, finally, I had what I needed to take it all down. But I wasn't ready to flip the switch just yet. No, not yet. Because something else was happening now. They were turning on each other. Aaron forwarded me a voicemail from Travis, slurred speech, clearly drunk. She's the one who started this. I didn't even want to do it. She said you'd never find out. She promised. He was unraveling, and I couldn't have scripted it better if I tried. By now, they were running. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally, mentally. They were in full-blown survival mode. The salon was barely functioning. Vendors ghosted them. Clients vanished. The staff started quitting one by one, some silently, others very publicly. One girl even posted a TikTok explaining why she left. It felt like a scam. I didn't want to be a part of something fake. It went viral. Perfect. Travis was drinking more, posting less, showing up to meetings late, if at all. And when he did show, he looked like hell, red eyes, unshaved, paranoid. My brother saw him at a local bar yelling at someone over the phone, claiming they're trying to ruin me. They weren't. I was. But it was about to get even worse. Because Aaron had just pulled the final piece off the board. She ghosted them, deleted the investor email, cut off communication. One day they were begging her to stay. The next, she was gone. No response. No explanation. Just gone. That silence. It terrified them. And that's exactly what I wanted. Within 72 hours, they began unraveling in public. My ex posted a long, tearful video on her backup account. She tried to look composed, professional even, but her eyes were puffy, and her voice cracked mid-sentence. We've been under a lot of pressure lately. There are people out there who want to see us fail. But we're strong. We'll get through this. The comments were brutal. Maybe try being honest for once. Weren't you the one who cheated and stole someone's life? I heard your husband went to jail for your scam. She deleted it within the hour. But screenshots live forever. Meanwhile, Travis made one last desperate move. He tried to sell the salon, fast, quietly, through a broker friend. Aaron intercepted the listing and forwarded it to me. As soon as I saw it, I smiled. Because the buyer was going to be me. Well, not me exactly. But a company I had registered offshore 6 months ago, tied to a shell corp, masked behind layers of legal fog. Totally untraceable. They were about to sell my old life to me, for pennies. And they had no idea. Before the deal could finalize, though, I needed to push them over the edge. So I sent the final blow. A package, no return address, delivered to both of them. Inside, printed screenshots of their emails, bank statements, fake invoices, a sticky note on top. Remember him? That was it. No signature, no threat, just truth. It hit them like a freight train. Aaron told me Travis called her that night. Incoherent, panicked, screaming that they were being watched, that someone had been playing them from the start. He was right. And now? The only thing left was to make it official. You ever watch someone fall apart in real time? It's not like the movies. There's no explosion, no scream, no dramatic music. Just silence. Faces going pale. Voices shaking. Reality catching up. And then, collapse. That's what happened the night of the charity gala. You see, Travis and my ex had one last shot at saving face. A public event. Big donors. Flashy suits. Cameras. It was supposed to be a rebrand. Proof they were still relevant, still trustworthy, still powerful. Too bad I was one step ahead. Again, I had someone on the inside. A catering manager who owed me a favor. He slipped a flash drive into the AV booth an hour before the speeches began. No label. No warning. Just truth. When it came time for Travis to speak, he walked up in his overpriced tux, smiling like the king of the room. He thanked sponsors. He talked about second chances. He even quoted some fake motivational nonsense about growth through adversity. And then, the screen behind him lit up. First came the emails. Screenshots. Laughter about my arrest. A forwarded message titled, "We got him." Then the financials. Fake invoices. Forged tax forms. Bank statements showing money moved under my name while I was in prison. Gasps. Silence. Someone dropped a glass. But we weren't done. The last slide? A photo. From years ago. Me. My wife. Travis. All smiling at a backyard barbecue. The caption read, "Only one of us kept his soul." That's when the room broke. People stood up. Sponsors walked out. One of the board members slapped her napkin on the table and said, loud enough for the whole room, "I don't associate with criminals." Travis froze. My ex. She burst into tears and ran out, heels clicking like gunshots on marble. I didn't show up that night. Didn't need to. I watched it all from my apartment. Whiskey in hand. Calm. Cold. Complete. The next morning, local news picked it up. The story spread. And suddenly, everyone was talking about the power couple who built their empire on lies and got exposed on camera, mid-speech, at a charity event. Investigations reopened. The IRS got involved. So did the feds. I didn't say a word. Didn't post. Didn't gloat. I just watched the empire I'd built, the one they stole, turn to ash around them. And the best part? They still didn't know how deep it went. Not yet. Because my final move? That one was personal. They lost everything. The salon shut down within a month. The landlord locked them out after unpaid rent piled up. Vendors sued. Clients vanished. And the IRS? They froze every account tied to Travis, my ex, or any of their shell companies. They were broke. Blacklisted. Done. But I wasn't finished. Because even after everything, the collapse, the humiliation, the headlines, they still had one thing I hadn't touched yet. Each other. After all the damage, they clung to each other like wreckage in the ocean. Two liars, two traitors, still pretending they could rebuild, that they deserved a second chance. That's when I made my final move. One letter. Handwritten. No threats. No accusations. Just a reminder. I mailed it to her. No return address. Just a folded sheet of paper. Inside, a photo. The original copy of the backyard barbecue. Me, her, and Travis, all smiling. And a note. You never fooled me. You fooled him. And now, he knows. That was it. Simple. Surgical. Because the timing wasn't random. I mailed that letter 2 days after forwarding Travis all of her old messages. The ones she sent to Aaron behind his back. Messages about how she was going to ditch him once the money came in. How she never really loved him. How he was just part of the plan. I didn't even need to forge anything. She'd said it all herself. And now, he knew. He left her a week later. No goodbye. No closure. Just gone. She tried reaching out, to him, to friends, even to me. I never answered. Because I wasn't that man anymore. The man they betrayed? He died the day they put me in cuffs. The man I became? He doesn't chase closure. He doesn't need apologies. He just finishes what he starts. And then, he lives. Today, I live in a quiet coastal town under my new name. I freelance, I surf, I cook. I read more. I drink less. I built something real, not out of revenge, but out of freedom. I'm not angry anymore. They made me into something cold, yes. But in the fire they lit, I forged steel. You wanted to know what I did in the end? That was it. I didn't ruin them. They ruined themselves. I just handed them the mirror. And they finally saw what they really were. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Did he do the right thing?